Thank you very much for this nice introduction. There are many facts totally unknown for me, but what to say? Motor or third-party liability, this was an idea at the beginning. This is the money now, and as you know, behind all the ideas, we should have a bit money in our pockets. So something from the top. From the top, it doesn't mean that we think we are more clever than the others, but what is very important, we have a common roof with national bureaus, with guarantee funds, compensation bodies, and information centers. I guess that we have enough sources to deliver some reflections regarding the activity in the motor business in Europe, not only in Europe, because probably you know that our organization is quite big and maybe not yet worldwide, but maybe in the future. But at this moment, there are many members, not only from Europe. I think that before we will start to speak about the money, what we can earn, of course, in our daily activity, I think it would be very clever to refer to the beginning of the motor third-party liability. And what is very important, that, of course, as you could guess, the beginning of the motor third-party liability is related directly to the development of the automobilism. From the beginning, there was the real connection between the needs and the fact that people used more and more vehicles. Of course, in the past, in the beginning, rather rich people had the possibility to buy the vehicles, but we had from the beginning also the victims. And the idea behind was, of course, to earn some money by the insurers, but on the other hand, there was also the question not how to compensate the claim regarding the damaged car, because the rather rich people had the access to the cars, but how to compensate the victim. It shouldn't depend only on a good or bad wills of the owner of the car, but there should be a kind of system to compensate the victim's rights. And having this in mind, very often the motor third-party liability became compulsory. We could remember about the development at the beginning, Norway, in Switzerland, in Sweden, in Denmark, Finland. So this is the beginning of the modern MTPL in Europe. And believe me, that's the original of this compulsory insurance was only the protection of just a moment, that we are too far, the protection of the victims, but also what is extremely important, not only of the victims, because we are protecting the financial situation of the owners of the cars or the drivers. Very often, we are forgetting about these two pillars of the MTPL. We are not only paying the compensation to the victim, we are protecting the person who is the owner, who is the driver of the car. We know, of course, there is the phenomenon of the uninsured vehicles, but if somebody causes an accident, is not insured, could be ruined. And there are enough evidences in Europe, because the guarantee fund or the bureau will pay the compensation to the victim, but will recourse to the last euro the person who was responsible and not insured. So in fact, there are two pillars, and please remember this. This year, this is not this. Oh, now I will follow the buttons. This year we are celebrating 60, it was exactly end of last year, the 65th anniversary of the green card system. It was created rather early, directly after the Second World War. It was 1949. And this was idea created by the United Nations. And it's maybe a surprise why this was one of the most important aspects directly after the Second World War, when millions of the people lost their life and all Europe was ruined. But exactly this was the reason, because there was so big migration in Europe. It was so big transfer of goods that it was necessary to think of any common security for all the participants of the road traffic. And 15 years ago, that's in the year 2000, the Fourth Motor Insurance Directive was created, passed by the European Parliament, and this was the beginning of the protection of visitor system. As you know, that the green card system protects only the victims in their own countries, but traveling abroad, we can be the victims as well. So this is like a mirror effect. So we can see the same problems from both aspects, as a visitor and as a guest. So why we are speaking about it? Because Europe is quite a big continent, maybe not so big as Asia or Africa and America, but big because we have a lot of vehicles. We have a lot of people, they are living here, and we have millions of the accidents every year. And this is a big problem. We are transferring a lot of money, almost 2 billion euro, only for the transborder claims, what is I guess, quite a big amount of money. And regarding the protection of visitors system, we can't have any data regarding the money we are transferring, but this is also quite a lot of claims we are settling every year. In this motor third-party liability business, we see a certain number, they are not all participants, partners, they are dealing with this on a daily basis. In the first line, they are the insurers. They are collecting the premium and they are promising, because insurance, this is a promise, to pay the compensation and to secure the financial situation of the insured person. They are the bureaus. They are taking care about all transborder claims. They are the agents of the bureaus. They are the correspondent. They are settling the claims in the name of the insurers. They are claims representatives. They are dealing with the protection of visitors claims, compensation bodies, and the guarantee funds. And all of them are really needed to compensate the victims and to give the security for the road users. Who is not on a screen, they are the victims. But about the victims we will speak a bit later. So, what is important for this business? This is the financial stability. Financial stability, it means money. Without money, we can't give any promises. Of course we can, but they are the promises without any security. If we want to be serious, we should have the money, and all of them, they are on the screen, should have sufficient sources to fulfill all the obligation to everybody who is involved in the road traffic and who could be affected by the accident. So, what type of the problems we can have, you see on the screen. That's very often when we are starting from the insurance business, this is bad internal organization. We can observe different aspects of the internal organization, not always is adapted to the national circumstances. The normal copy of some ideas of some organization, they are really fantastic on one market, doesn't mean that could work on another market at the same level. So it's necessary always to adapt the internal organization to the national circumstances to avoid problems. Bad risk calculation, price dumping. Another problem is with the sales network, agents and brokers, and the level of the commission. Later on, I will present to you a short calculation, what is the final effect. If we will not follow the certain rules, they are related to these problems. The one of the biggest problems we can observe on many markets, and doesn't matter if the market is big or small, this is the problem with the calculation of the risk, with the tariffs and with the dumping. Observing this European business from the top, from the roof, we see this is international problem. I have the feeling that in many cases that the position in the ranking of the sold insurance is much more important as a final profit we can reach. Is there any sense to sell more and more if we are not able to deliver a good service to the clients, to the victims, and if we are losing the money? That short-term plans, they are very often in the first line in the insurance companies. They are creating certain problems, and not only ones were finished by the bankruptcy or insolvency of the insurance companies. For sure, you are informed that, or at least you have read maybe, that the insolvency of the insurance company doesn't depend on the size of the country or if the country is rich or not. The last insolvency we had in Netherlands, unfortunately, it costed a lot of money and also took a lot of time to compensate the victims and also to secure the rights of the people. They bought the insurance and they had to buy a new one because they suddenly were without any insurance cover. So this is a rather cruel situation for all the participants on the market, but the Council of Bureau is always forced to find a real solution to secure the rights of the customers. Regarding the claim settlement, we have also the problem, not only when we are collecting the money, when we dump the prices, when we are paying too high commissions to the agents and to the brokers, but also we are losing the money very often when we are dealing with the claim settlement. You see on the screen that we can name some basic factors. It doesn't mean that they are all, but in our opinion, in my opinion, the 7 they are on the screen, they are the most important. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we have among the insurance companies, and the agents, brokers, specialized claims adjusters. This is the problem of the know-how, of the sufficient internal organization and relation, information exchange among these all bodies you have seen before on one of the previous screens. What to say? Who has the information has the power. But we are not fighting for power, we are fighting for money. Who is not informed very well lose money. It's quite obvious. There is no discussion in this matter. So, there is a competition, but in modern times, the competition doesn't mean that we are not obliged to exchange the information. Competition starts from the certain moment. If we will not exchange the information regarding, for example, bad payers, bad agents, bad brokers, fraud, uninsured driving problems, we will need more and more money to compensate the losses we will produce on a daily basis. The problem we have at the insurance selling and the claims settlement, they have real consequences. They are real consequences, and all the consequences they have also from time to time very negative aspects. And the first one is not the insolvency. The insolvency is a case. This case must be settled by the national authorities, by the National Bureau, by the Guarantee Fund, and finance, of course, by the insurers. But the biggest, absolute biggest negative consequence is the bad image of the insurers and the bad image of the insurance as such. In all markets, when we survived the insolvencies and the bankruptcies, we observed these negative aspects, the effect, consequence. If you intend to sell more and more policies, I don't think about this compulsory because it's a bit easier. But if you want to be productive, if you want to be efficient, if you want to produce the profits, you need some arguments. And the absolutely highest argument, this is the security. And because the situation regarding the insurance activity is a bit different than in the banking sector, when we are putting the money and after a certain time we will receive the money back with the interest, or not, but we will receive usually the money back. In the insurance business, we are offering only the promises, as I have said before, for a certain amount of money. To whom the people could trust if not to the insurer? If the market produced the bankrupts or insolvencies, to whom the people could trust? Are they really interested to pay for the another policies as for the house, flats, life business? No, they will not, because they don't trust anymore. So we should think about this aspect, not only about the financial loss at the end, because the shareholders will be not happy, but they will be unhappy not only because they will not receive any single euro at the end, but the premium income of the company will be lower and lower, and the final results will be worse and worse. So, the promised simple calculation. We can talk about the sophisticated actuarial calculations, but I have prepared a very simple one. Probably you notice from all the markets, maybe not from all, but I think all, when we are talking about the, maybe not all, these 5 elements, but some of them, they appear on all markets. High administration costs. This is the problem. From time to time, especially at the beginning, we are creating a big company, I mean, with a lot of stuff. We are not using modern means of information storage, I mean, database. We are trying to find cheap employees to save money, but in the consequence, we are losing the money because they are too cheap. They are too cheap. It's necessary to invest sufficient amount of money. It's necessary to convince the shareholders to invest the money to develop the company from the beginning, not to finance the insurance company from the premiums we are collecting. There was not only one case in Europe that the shareholders, the management, they really believed that it's possible to finance the company or to develop the company on the basis of the end premium. Sold policies. Never was a success. Never. All those companies, they had big problems, and finally they were overtaken by another companies or they went bankrupt. High commissions. What the insurers doing to sell the policies, to win the clients, to have more and more clients? They are offering to the agents enormous commissions. From my experience, and in the recent times, there was up to 25% in the motor business. This is unbelievable. You will never profit from this business as long as you will offer such high commissions. Who should pay for the claims? Who should pay for the internal costs if 1/3, for example, of the premium is going to the agents? And they are not offering any risk cover to you. No single. To anybody. There is only a real cost to you. I'm not against the agents, brokers. We need them. But it's necessary to find a certain level of the cooperation with them. As an example, I can give you that last year, one of the insurance companies on my market, on the Polish market, decided to decrease a bit the premiums. And who protested in the first line? The agents. Because they had the commission on a certain level, and they discovered that if the premium will go down, they will earn less. They didn't ask for the higher commission because they are how to say, conscious. They understand that it's impossible. But they convinced the insurer who wanted to win more clients that they are able to sell the policies for the same price it was before. So this is a real evidence that everything depends on us, all the participants on the market. Not only the insurer, but also the agent, the broker. And finally, we should think about the distrust between the insurers and the claims adjuster. In many cases, there are another insurers. In many cases, they are specialized claims adjusters. I will not give any names, but we know the most important companies on the European market. And finally, we are losing the clients and produce the financial losses. So, at the end of this calculation, you see two aspects. This is the uninsured driving and the fraud. This is a big phenomenon. If we want to be successful on the market, we should eliminate these two factors. But of course, this is only the theory. The problem with the uninsured driving is very specific and depends on the internal organization of the market and the cooperation with the state authorities. This is not true, as I was informed on certain markets, that the uninsured driving, this is the problem of the insurers or insurance market. This is the problem of the state. Because when we have the situation that the uninsured driving is up to 20%, as we have had recently even in certain EU countries, it means that the market is not stable financially. It means we have 20% of the premium less, but we have to pay the same level of the compensations because the number of the accidents is more or less the same. It means that we should find the sources, financial sources, to finance the National Bureau and the Insurance Guarantee Fund to pay the compensation to the victims from the accidents they were caused by the uninsured drivers. It means we lose once 20% of the premium, but we need 20% additionally of the money for financing the claims. Altogether is 40%. This is very simple calculation, it's true. Everybody can take the figures from all the markets and compare how much money we need. How we can produce finally the profit for the shareholders if we have to finance this? This is impossible. And believe me, the markets, they have very high level of the uninsured driving. They have problems. They have problems, and unfortunately, from time to time, it's necessary to use certain sanctions. Unfortunately, what I would like to underline in this moment is that the level of the supervisory authorities, nobody want to be supervised, nobody like to be supervised, controlled. But in the insurance business, we need the good supervision. And unfortunately, the supervision is not good on certain markets. This is the question of the know-how. This is the question of involvement of the politician on a daily activity of the supervisor, and from time to time not predictable policy regarding the insurance business on a certain market. Fraud. According to our estimation, this is between 15 up to 20% of money we are losing as insurers. Quite a lot. It would be better to keep it in the form of the reserves or to pay to the shareholders. 15 up to 20%. This is a big phenomenon. We as a Council of Bureau, we are trying to prepare a platform for all the markets. They are in our organization, 46 members we have, and soon, in May, the 47th will be accepted. We are trying to find a common platform to exchange the data, information, because without the information exchange, we will not fight successfully against this phenomenon. They are the parasites regarding the uninsured driving and fraud. They are profiting. They are really profiting from this business. The style of life is to earn money from the insurers. And we are obliged to do something to make them clear that the time is over. Of course, we will never eliminate in 100%, as for example, regarding uninsured driving. In Germany is very small, in Austria, 0.01%, but it's still this 0.10%, because they are different situations. They can happen, of course. Always they are the people, they try to avoid to pay for the insurance, especially as the insurance is more expensive than the car they are using, what is not so seldom in Europe. The people are using very old wracks. They are still on the streets, but the insurance would be more expensive. So how we can cooperate together? And if is there any contradiction? Is there any contradiction between the competition and the cooperation? From all the markets where the activity of the chamber of insurance, the activity of the bureaus, or activity of guarantee fund is on a certain strong level, we see the positive development. This is really needed. There must be any platform of the information exchange, of the presentation of the needs of the insurers and the needs of the customers, what is very important. The bodies as the guarantee funds and the bureaus are financed by the insurers, but they are not representing the insurers. They are representing the customer rights, and the customer is the insured person and is the victim. But there is a kind of the understanding among the insurers, between the insurance companies and the guarantee funds and the national bureaus, because we are rational. We are the people, we have experience. We know that for our disposal is only a certain amount of money. And we should deal and we should organize our activity within this legal and financial circumstances. What we need? We need better information exchange. We need very close cooperation with the supervisors. I'm underlying this again because in many cases the insurers, they see that the supervisory authorities, they are not going in the same line as the insurers. For sure, in certain cases, the imagination of the supervisor can be different than the imagination of the insurer. The insurer wants to earn more money, to sell more policies, but the supervisor is obliged to take care of the customers, to secure financially the market, to take care about the level, a real level of the rights of the customers in the form of the conditions of the policies they are sold to the customers. We have fight against the fraud and we have combat against the uninsured driving. So, the main question, is there any contradiction between the profitability of the insurers and the consumer protection? I really believe there is no contradiction. There is no single contradiction. And why? Because the profit is really welcomed. As long as the companies are able to have their green figures at the end and to satisfy the shareholders, they can better secure, they can deliver better service to the victims, to the customers. They are more transparent. They are able to cooperate with the victim of the accident. In many cases, the victim of the accident is treated as somebody who never should appear in the insurance companies. Fortunately, regarding the motor third-party liability insurance, the insurance companies are not able to formulate the conditions of this insurance. They are regulated by the state usually, not usually, always. Or in some cases also influenced by the EU directives. But they have the possibility to regulate the tariffs, the final price of the insurance. If the price is on a sufficient level, comparing to the costs, internal costs of the insurer, administration, then the level of the commission paid to the agents, and finally the level of the compensation of the victims and the reserves, we have to calculate to secure the future obligation of the insurers, we can deliver better service. Better service doesn't mean that we will cut every single position of the calculation of the claim. The better service is to explain to the victim what is his right, how we will deal with his request, when he can expect the compensation or clear answer for the demand, and finally that he could receive a compensation on an honest level. This is the most important. We exaggerate in many cases the conflicts between the insurers and the clients, what has always the consequence that the clients could go to the court. They can be represented by themselves, but very often by the advocate solicitors or by the specialized agencies. They are dealing only with the claims and they are representing the victims. What does mean? This means directly that we increase our internal costs. We increase the level of the compensation. The judges, they are only the human beings. They have the feelings. And they are always, almost always, they presenting the opinion the insurer is the rich party. The insurer is the stronger party. The insurer has the know-how and should deal with the claim to satisfy the victim. If they see that the insurer are not behaving this way as I have described at this moment, they will decide to pay the compensation to the victims. Working in a green card system in Council of Bureau, not only once, I saw the cases that the additional costs, the late payments, interest, and the cost of court costs were higher than the level of the compensation should be paid from the beginning to the victim. Are we really interested to exaggerate the internal costs? For sure not. So, we should deliver better service to the victims on an honest level and to generate the profit to secure this better service, to satisfy the owners of the insurers and to satisfy the customers. And what is very important, we should remember always that the final payer is not the shareholder. The final payer is always the person who pays for the insurance policy. From time to time, there is a big misunderstanding. The shareholders, they are not financing the claims. The share capital is to secure the activity of the insurance company. And all the costs, internal costs, the commission, administration, claims, and the reserves, they are financed only from the premium is collected from the insured person. And I think if we want to generate the profit as an insurance markets, we should convince the people to pay the premiums. And if we will be not honest, we will not convince them, and we will generate the losses. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.